Conspiracy culture. Right now I wanted to kind of discuss Eric Dubay and the flat earth hypothesis and Freemasonry. And so yeah, starting off with Eric Dubay because he's quite a prominent, popular spokesperson for the flat earth hypothesis. He kind of tries to rationalize why the earth is flat, and he develops like a ton of theories and his own reasons for why the earth is in fact flat and not round. And really there is not a lot to say on him. He's kind of just been promoting the flat earth hypothesis and theory, and that's why I'm kind of mentioning him, but like to discuss now the flat earth hypothesis on empirical grounds, right? Empirical grounds, which would mean like based off what you can see with your eyes and what you can sense with your nose and hear with your ears. The flat earth hypothesis seems very compelling, right? Because we cannot see any type of curvature of the earth. If we had to purely rely on our sight and eyes, the earth probably would seem to be flat, right? Because we cannot like go and see, like, it would be kind of impossible to kind of prove that the earth is like spherical if you had to just use your empirical observations, if you had to just use your eyes and senses to kind of infer things and stuff. And so that's why the flat earth hypothesis seems very compelling and intellectual for a lot of different people. And of course you can easily like kind of ridicule this hypothesis. You can say, well, we have satellites in space and we have all of this imaging of the earth and it shows that the earth is spherical, right? We have so much scientific research proving the spherical nature of the earth and stuff. And you can go down that type of route, that type of way of thinking, and kind of bash the flat earth hypothesis. But hopefully a lot of you can kind of appreciate that this is kind of infallible. That's why, because I also used to know someone that believed in a flat earth. I was just kind of going back and forth with this person. I was trying to tell him that the earth is not flat, it's round. There's a ton of reasons why the earth is round and not flat. And I just kept going on and on about it. And I was kind of pointing out all of them, how all of science kind of agrees that the earth is in fact round and not flat. But then I kind of realized that, okay, wait, hold on. I've never been out into space. I've never looked down onto the earth with my own eyes and proven through empirical observation that the earth is spherical. That's something I rely on other people's assumptions and opinions and beliefs about the earth being spherical. I rely on other people's ideas. I rely on satellite images that could have been easily faked. I've never been out into space and looked properly down on the earth and kind of concluded based off rational empirical observation that the earth is in fact round and spherical and not flat. So that kind of made me like kind of realize that I was kind of being harsh and unfair and kind of stupid. I was actually the idiot, because I was just kind of, I've never seen the actual, none of us, like even a lot of you watching this video, you guys never been out into space and looked down on the earth. So you can't with 100% claim that the earth is any particular shape. That's something you can't claim. You can, well, we have satellite images, but again, even if it's kind of absurd, right? Why would they manipulate the satellite images? Why would they lie about the earth being round? Like, even if that's absurd, you still have to appreciate that that's possible and plausible, and so you can never with 100% claim that the earth is spherical, as opposed to being just completely flat. I mean, a flat earth on empirical grounds, purely through, like, we have to rely on our senses, our sight and observation. Like, the earth being flat makes quite a lot of sense, because again, you look around, look outside, you can't sense any type of curvature of the earth. You have to kind of extrapolate other ways of like seeing the world. Like, you have to kind of rely on the satellite images of space. You have to rely on what a bunch of other kind of quote unquote academics claim about the earth being spherical and not flat. But again, to wrap all of this up, it's kind of infallible, the flat earth hypothesis, because again, unless you've been out into space, yourself, you can claim, well, other people have been out into space and they saw the Earth from the bottom. They looked down and saw like a round Earth. So the Earth, in fact, is spherical and not flat. But you have to trust their testimony. Who's to say they're not lying? And of course, that might be absurd. But why would they lie? Why would all of these organizations lie? That's true, but still, it's a possibility you have to kind of consider and stuff. Now, to kind of move on to Freemasonry. From what I know, Freemasonry was the original Masons, were just a bunch of cathedral builders, right? In the Middle Ages, these cathedral builders, they kind of got together, right? And they were exchanging ideas and stuff. And they created these places where they can discuss things freely, and they became inevitably a type of philosophers club. And they just kept evolving and becoming more and more distinguished, more and more like their identity was getting more and more defined. They started to kind of write up their rule book, so to speak, and get their entire organization established and whatever and stuff. And the Freemasonic identity was getting established. Of course, they originally were just starting. They started off as cathedral builders, right? Allegedly, right? That's hence why a mason, like a stone mason, right? Hence why their their iconography, the way like the compass and square, right? It all relates to like stone. Like all of their symbols relate to like masonry, like stone mason, like as in like cutting stones and shaping them properly and building cathedrals. That's how Freemasonry was originally started, right? Then it kind of became more and more sophisticated and more kind of convoluted, and then it was kind of transitioning into a philosophers club. But but of course, this is I believe there's actually a deeper history for Freemasonry that isn't available to us, right? That only like the 33rd degree Masons have like, proper knowledge of. Okay, so why am I like mentioning Freemasonry? Well, I was just kind of wanting to kind of discuss their influence and impact, because when I was extremely little and young, I remember I used to watch SpongeBob quite a lot. SpongeBob, like most of you watching this probably were also fans of SpongeBob, right? And I remember when I was watching SpongeBob, there was this episode called Cephalopod Lodge. Essentially, it was like a parody of the Freemasons. And I was kind of wondering why did they include why did they include so much Freemasonic symbolism? Like the entire video was just literally a parody of the Freemasons and stuff. And you could say, well, is this for comedic value and stuff? Oh, it was kind of getting bizarre. And also, it's a kids show, and so why would they relate why would they kind of even bring like this type of Freemasonic symbolism into a kids show? And it's kind of bizarre. That kind of shocked me. I used to watch those conspiracy videos when I was younger, and I thought that like SpongeBob, because of this Freemasonic symbolism that I found in like a couple of their episodes. Because it wasn't just Cephalopod Lodge, there was also another episode, I believe it was called The Good Neighbor or something like that, where SpongeBob was wearing like a type of fez hat, and he had like the all-seeing eye, and he was kind of chanting stuff that was and when I was like younger, I thought it was like very satanic and evil and stuff, and that's what pushed me away from SpongeBob. But anyway, it's weird. Why would they include Freemasonic symbolism in a kid's show like SpongeBob? Of course, a lot of people would argue it was just for comedic value. There's no higher, profound meaning. True, the symbolism was very exact and it's kind of weird. Also, the Simpsons, right? The Stonecutters. There was this episode about this organization called the Stonecutters in the Simpsons universe, and they were in this episode, right? Essentially, Homer, right? He was whatever, like working and stuff, and he like a bunch of his colleagues, his work friends and stuff, they had like these rings, and they were able to access these secret tunnel pathways, and they were able to kind of cheat like the vending machines and stuff like that. And it was kind of bizarre, and he was like curious, and he was kind of following them, and whatever, he tracked them back to their high. Like, they went to like some type of meeting lodge, just like the Freemasons. And Homer, he snuck into this type of congregation they were having and stuff, and then he got kind of exposed. Of course, then they just kicked him out, and then he went back home, and he kind of asked his dad, right, if he was like some type of if he had any knowledge of this stonecutters organization, and his dad was like, yeah, I used to be a stonecutter, and he showed like a card, showed his ring and stuff, and then and then he gave him. And then Homer, basically, because his dad was a stonecutter, this organization allowed him in, and then he became a member, and he got a lot of privileges because of this and stuff. He could cut through a lot of traffic. He could cut through a lot of nonsense that like the ordinary person would have to deal with in life. Right? It was kind of bizarre. And the rings, everything. This was literally like it was parodying Freemasonry. I wonder how much this actually relates to the Freemasons in real life. Because I know that the Freemasons are very protective of their own. They give each other special privileges. Right? That's kind of what I was kind of wondering. Well, to what extent, right? Like, you know, and imagine if like one Freemason he commits like a crime, he murders someone or he rapes a woman, right? And then, like, let's just imagine that he's in court and there's a judge, but the judge is also a Freemason. Would he let this other fellow brother off? That's kind of what I'm kind of trying to wonder. It's kind of hard to figure out. Really, Freemasonry isn't like some type of, but then again, because it's only really established in America and Europe, it's not found elsewhere. But then again, because America and Europe, they have like a massive impact on the entire world. So Freemasonry, like who knows how much influence Freemasonry has and stuff like that. Of course, Freemasonry is extremely hard to figure out properly. What else? There's a bunch of books you can read how. Like if you want to study Freemasonry, I would highly recommend you purchase a book called Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. Albert Pike was he was quite a renowned figure. He was quite popular in Freemasonry. He wrote this book called Morals and Dogma and stuff, and it kind of details out like a lot of the Freemasons' philosophy and conduct and way of life. And there's other books you can read, but really it's none of these books is kind of hard to to know exactly what Freemasonry is about, because they give out like a ton of different interpretations. And even Albert Pike said he said that he was like Masonries, like they deliberately give out like false symbols to kind of mislead people away from the true. What the actual true nature of Freemasonry, so that we would never figure it out. This is kind of hard to so it's like kind of hard to know what Freemasonry is all about. Yeah, Albert Pike. You should study his life if you want to kind of understand Freemasonry and stuff. What else do I know about Freemasonry? I know they have a strong. I would say, well, maybe they believe in some type of a god, right? The great architect, but I don't know, it's kind of hard to understand if this god that they believe in is the Abrahamic God, right? Allah, Yahweh, you know, the Abrahamic God, the God that spoke to Abraham and stuff, or if it's just some type of other god that they have that's a lot more obscure and potentially might relate to something completely different. We also have a lot of like Hiram Abiff is like a popular allegorical figure that's kind of discussed and used in Freemasonry. A worker at Solomon's temple, he got kind of killed by free ruffians, free criminals and stuff, and then that's essentially, and then he like, there was a lost word of Freemasonry, like with Hiram Abiff's death, like there was like some special word that was lost, and the modern Freemasons, they were trying to figure out, but they don't have any proper knowledge and stuff, because Hiram Abiff never passed this word on, and so essentially that's what I know. And of course, some people can also theorize that Freemasonry relates to ancient Egypt, but yeah, it's all speculation. It's extremely difficult to figure out unless you're some 33rd degree Freemason, unless you belong to this organization. If you went through all of its ranks, all of its degrees, because Freemasons, they're very hierarchical, right? They have like this bunch of degrees that you have to kind of get initiated into and move past if you want to get the proper knowledge at the top of this pyramid scheme, right? So you can kind of go on to Google and look at the Wikipedia page of Freemasonry, but I doubt you would get the actual proper knowledge of what Freemasonry is all about. And of course, I can't really talk too much about this now because that's it.